And anything get handed out like a major regular season?
A major trophy? Actually, well, it hasn't publicly been announced, but by the time we record next, it will be because Thursday night they're supposed to give him it. But yeah,
Why did it come out then?
Oh man, crazy! It's like we've been talking about this the whole time.
The first person to have 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, and 500 assists won, right?
Crazy, yeah. Only one of one, like
yeah,
crazy, right? How that works out, like your MVP is still playing, but can't win a fucking road game, and it wants to put up 8 points in the goddamn crucial game 5. Oh yeah, but no, it's okay. It's bias. It's all that. Nah, there ain't no my MVP this, my MVP this. Your 2022 NBA MVP is Nikola Jokic. It doesn't matter if you're a Sixer fan. It doesn't matter you're a Nugget fan, Suns fan, Lakers fan. I don't give a fuck. Your 22 MVP or NBA MVP is Nikola Jokic. Suck it and weep. Because there ain't no denying his greatness. I don't look. Everyone's saying, "Well, this is just as bad as Steve Nash winning the back-to-back MVPs during college time." Steve Nash is a fucking Hall of Famer. Are we really going to look? I will happily put Jokic in Steve Nash's category. Steve Nash is a top 10 point guard of all time. There ain't no denying Steve Nash's legacy. So you know what? People say this is worse than Steve Nash. Blah, blah, blah. Good. Put him in Steve Nash's category. As a guy who loved Steve Nash growing up, who grew his hair out, did the fucking hair thing when I had a bucket on me.
Yeah, I can vouch for that.
Yeah, like Steve Nash was the epicenter of my fucking childhood. If you're putting Jokic in the category of the Steve Nashes of the world, then I will happily agree with you. Kobe, look, the MVP award does not go to the best player every year. It is the most valuable player. I said this a couple weeks ago. I think the best player in basketball right now is Giannis Antetokounmpo. I can't even say that right 10 years now. Giannis does things ungodly at his size. But Nikola Jokic, there's no one in the league today that does more for his team to be successful than number 15 on the Denver Nuggets. If you are going to put him in the conversation of being one of the worst MVPs since Steve Nash, I will happily take that. Thank you very much.
But Niko, he's not playing. He's getting the award while he's at home.
Embiid lasted a week longer. By the time we record our episode next week, Embiid will be out of playoffs. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. They won't win 2 straight. They won't win. They may force game 7, but they won't win 2 straight. And your MVP hasn't been the best player on his own team the last 2 games. James Harden and Tyrese Maxey have been the best player on your team the last 2 games. You want to say injury this, injury that? Oh, you want to play the injury card now? Okay. Now, it's funny how things come full circle. You want to
talk about injuries.
It's funny how things come full circle, huh?
Niko, I see people on Twitter saying that the Nuggets are a 6 seed with or without Nikola Jokic. A lineup of Austin Rivers, Boogie Cousins, Facu Campazzo.
Oh, it's crazy, Jimmy. It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
The lack of knowledge.
There's
too much air there.
Stupidity. Like I told you, it's like people just arguing now against him. It doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't. There's no arguing anymore. The trophy 2021 MVP and the 2022 MVP resides out of Denver, Colorado, and there's nothing you can do about it. Nothing.
Well, mostly out of Denver. Sometimes, or actually, mostly
out of Serbia. I am interested. Obviously, we're recording this before he gets the award. I am very interested to see how they interview him because he's probably on a fucking ranch somewhere in the middle of Sombor, Serbia. It may be an absolute hilarious interview that they do with him on TNT with Barkley and Shaq and all of them.
Yeah. God bless the Jokic brothers because after the announcement came out, the Twitter account became active again, and it's beautiful because they didn't take any English lessons by the time when they got famous in America. They don't have any English or not very good English.
Very good English,
yeah. It's beautiful. That Twitter account is back active. And
just
it's been a nice few days. Now we're both disavowed by the Philly fan base, and I couldn't be happier about it.
It's hilarious. Just like look, I feel bad for the Philly fans. Like y'all are just such bad fans in general with the Santa Claus bullshit and the nothing but hatred toward Jokic. Look, I will be one of the first to say if Embiid would have won MVP rightfully, then I would have been okay. He deserved it. There isn't a single Sixer fan that said Jokic deserves it. You cannot argue and say, I believe as a Jokic fan, Embiid deserved it as well. But I believe Jokic deserved it more. That's the point. That's the point Sixers fans just can't put through their tiny brains. There is no denying what Embiid has done this year is an all-time year. But there's time to put people down, and there's time to lift people up. And we are seeing one of the best matchups in center history, or at least a very long time, since the Shaq versus Tim Duncan days, back when the Lakers and the Spurs were going against one another, against two big men. We are seeing an unprecedented time of three big men, I'll say be honest too, three big men dominating the game, all international players. And it's time to lift these guys up instead of just tear people down. Because look, all three deserved it, but Jokic just did more. And only one guy wins the award. I'm a firm believer in that the NBA needs to adopt the NFL model. The NFL gives two awards out: Offensive Player of the Year and MVP. You can give Offensive Player of the Year to Embiid and give Jokic the MVP because the Sixers without Embiid are still in the play-in tournament. The Denver Nuggets without Nikola Jokic, we're waiting for lottery balls, seeing who we got. That's all you need to know. And like I said, I have no hate towards Embiid. I have no hate towards Giannis. It's just my guy had a better year. That's just how it happens. And it's funny. I remember talking about after he won last year, saying there's no shot they give it to him 2 years in a row. I remember having that conversation. There's no shot he wins 3 years in a row. There's no fucking shot.
Nobody wins three. There's zero chance.
No, there's zero chance. I love Jokic, but there's zero. Oh, and we don't want him to win because if he wins, that means Jamal and MPJ are having a terrible year. So I don't want him to win another MVP.
Please, I don't. No. Please,
I don't. I want Malone having Coach of the Year, meaning that we are a top 2 seed in the West. I want the likes of 6 Man of the Year go to Bones. I want the other awards because MVP is a meaningless award at this point after what Jokic just did back-to-back years. And look, he has solidified himself as the greatest Denver Nugget of all time. It is weird to say that, I know, but he has. The likes of Todd Helton, which doesn't mean much if you're not from Colorado, but Todd Helton, John Elway, Joe Sakic, and now Nikola Jokic. For the longest time, it was Alex English, it was David Thompson. At one point, it was almost Melo, but number 1-5, Nikola Jokic right now, what he's doing, we are seeing the city of Denver, we have our Dirk Nowitzki. We have our Tim Duncan. We have our Kobe Bryant, the guy that is just going to consistently be great for you for a long, long ass time. Now the thing is, can you maximize his potential and end up getting you a ring?
I think, they still got to take advantage of the championship window that they're going to be in. And Embiid made his return. It was questioned whether he was going to be able to return at all in the series. Made sure to be wearing the Batman mask when he did it, coming back to the floor.
Got hit in the face of the ball. If that little touch of the ball hurts you that bad, you should not be playing. That's all I'll say.
You're a big man. What are you talking about? I know the basketball hurts, but you need a Batman mask. Come on now. They whatever he was doing. Philly did win their 2 games at home, so the series was tied 2-2 going into the game tonight.
Which is expected when Miami was out Kyle Lowry and was out the likes of Bam for one of those games. That was very, very much expected. I think Lowry, if he comes back, the series is over in 6. I think maybe they're even holding on to Lowry for Game 7, but it's not. Look. Embiid is a dominant force of a player, but when you match him up against a dominant defensive force like Bam Adebayo and PJ Tucker, just 99 out, that just wears on him. He's not getting the foul calls he wants. He's not being able to dominate the little man on the post because PJ Tucker and Bam can stand up to himself.
He's mentally weak.
I know. And talk about, like, look, if the Sixers are going to have a chance, it's not going to be because of Embiid. I'll say it right now. Embiid will get you what he can get you. But if Sixers are going to have a chance in this series, it's going to be James Harden. And no one is a bigger choker in the playoffs than Doc Rivers and James Harden. You put two of them together, you're done for. That's all I'll say.
I think they have a couple days in Miami before they actually play, and that doesn't bode well for James Harden because
at all.
The nightlife is just calling his name. So
the game just ended, and it's probably like 10 o'clock in Miami right now as we're recording this. Yeah, he's at the club right now as we speak.
No doubt, he's if he's the guy that you're relying all your faith on. I feel bad for you as a 76ers
You can rely on him.
I don't feel bad for you,
but not win your game.
I don't feel bad for you because you're a 76ers fan and you got to clean your mom's basement. We got to make sure that you're doing well and keeping yourself put together. But Philly, I said it from the very jump. I don't have any faith in them. I wish they would have got beat last year because it would have been a fun story. But now this year, or this round, not last round, this round, they're just going to – Miami's going to take care of business. And they're going to do it in front of Philadelphia. I think it's over in 6.
Yeah, and then Philly fans will do what they usually do and boo their team off the floor and throw shit and do all that stuff.
I can't imagine why people don't like to play for them.
Yeah, crazy, huh? Crazy. The process is still processing, though, right? Still processing.
Must be a dial-up connection that they're trying to make that process happen on. Next series that we have up the Suns and Mavs. It's tied up.
It's 2-2, which is very surprising because Phoenix has been almost dominating 3 of the 4 games outside of Game 3. But Luka and the likes of Jalen Brunson, it's crazy. When Luka's on the floor, Jalen Brunson and the likes of Jalen Brunson, Spencer Dinwiddie are not effective at all. I listened to Charles Barkley this morning on his show, and he was saying when the likes of Jalen Brunson and Dinwiddie are on the floor without Luka, they're better. Because they do more off the ball, and it's not just give Luka the ball and watch him go. Yep. And that's where Dallas is at right now. Obviously, we're recording this as Game 5 is going on right now. But if Phoenix loses this game, they may be done for. I'm kind of hoping they lose because I'll be flying to Dallas in 2 weeks. I would love to go to Western Conference Finals game in Dallas while I'm working there. So
15-9 in the first quarter right now as we're recording this.
So it'd be interesting. But, man, if you're Phoenix, man, Chris Paul, your legacy is on the line right now. Your legacy is on the line right now. You want to solidify yourself as a top 3-point guard of all time alongside, yes, I'll say it, Steph Curry and Magic Johnson. You're going to need to win a ship here. And having the number 1 seed and this good of a shot of winning it all with one of the deepest teams in the league, and you don't get it done, it's bad news for you. It's very, very bad news for you.
Yeah. He's either going to prove all of the theories about him correct right now, and he's never going to win the big one and he can't get over the hump, or he's going to actually solidify what he wants to become. And we're going to have to deal with LeBron making it about himself if it does happen. If Chris Paul wins the championship, LeBron is going to congratulate himself somehow, some way.
LeBron will be at the game that he wins the championship. Let's just put it that way.
Ew. I feel gross just thinking about it.
People forget D-Wade's last game, LeBron flew to Brooklyn for that game. Yeah. Like the watch his last game in person. It's a little weird, I know, but I guess
it's very self-aggrandizing. I don't like it very much. It's my opinion, and I know you're a basketball player, and I love you. You're one of my best friends that I've had in my life. You guys are a little narcissistic and full of yourselves.
You have to be, Jimmy. You have to be a good basketball player. You have to be a little narcissistic.
I couldn't just even going to the rec league games last season and the amount of cockiness and swagger in that gym for guys that probably don't need to have.
They don't have any of that. But yeah, that's
smells like a bullfight. It smells like a bullfight in here. What's going on? Why is there so much testosterone? It's just
so much anxiety and so much biting of nails and pushing people over foul calls.
Yeah. Everybody dunking in the layup lines with the headphones on. What are you doing, man?
Yeah, that's basketball.
High school's over.
That's basketball for you. I wish I could say it's different, but it's really not.
It's not. It's not. The other side of the West, Golden State looks like they're about to put the Grizzlies out of their misery.
Ja out for the playoffs too with a bone bruise on his knee. That's the nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
Golden State is way too damn good. They are probably the team that's going to come out of the West. If I'm being honest with you, I hate saying it, but they probably are.
Is what Phoenix has shown? Hell yeah.
But what Phoenix is showing, I still don't trust Dallas. I would love Dallas. I'll be honest with you. My top 3 teams, favorites of all time, it goes Nuggets. I throw the Heat in there because of all the Chris stuff. But I always love Dallas because I love Dirk. I loved all those boys, and watching Luka is so much fun. But if you're Dallas, Dallas is one of the few teams that can match up guard wise with the likes of Golden State, which may be the better matchup. If you're Phoenix, if you match up with Golden State, you have to have DeAndre Ayton be the MVP of that series, or Golden State is going to run you over because, like I said, I think Golden State maybe end up back in the finals. I don't know if they win it, but man, I just don't want to see them there again. But this team is just hitting on all cylinders. Yeah. And they find ways to win when they shouldn't. They were down by double digits in the beginning of the fourth quarter in Game 4. Found a way to win. They find ways to win when they need to. Talk about that Game 4 against the Nuggets. Nuggets were up, or Game 3, or was it
Game 5?
Game 5, whatever it was. Game 5, yeah. Nuggets were up, I want to say, by double digits at halftime. Mm-hmm. Golden State dug deep. That's because they have that championship mentality and found a way to win. And it goes without saying, especially when it comes to basketball playoffs. Look, when you have guys with veteran experience, it helps. It helps so much.
They have a championship culture. We talk about the Miami Heat and the culture that they've built. Like it or hate it, Golden State built the same exact thing in the Bay. They're going to be good no matter what because they have a system. Steve Kerr has shown his system works, and the guys are still buying into it. As long as he has Steph and Clay and Draymond, that system is going to be in place for a while. If they switch the core out somehow and his guys aren't there, Steve Kerr's message might fall flat. But for now, as long as the star power is there, Golden State's set up for a while.
Those 3 will be the Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili of this generation. That's all I'll say. They will swap every single player on that roster before they let those 3 go. That's all I'll say.
The last series that we got to talk about, Boston and Milwaukee, it's just a fist fight. Every single night, it goes back and forth. And Al freaking Horford is now dropping hammers on Giannis. Where did he come from? Was he always going to be this kind of an impact player in the series?
Horford hasn't been relevant since 2015 with the Hawks. This is out of the blue. They had Robert Williams. Robert Williams goes down before Game 4. He can't play. Horford steps up right perfectly and just knocking down threes. He has not beat you in many ways. He beat you by shooting the ball and being physical on defense because the dude is not going to dunk on you very often. It does every once in a while, but he's not going to hammer shit on you. But if you're in Milwaukee, you need Chris Middleton back. If you're going to win the series, you need Chris Middleton because Boston has way too much firepower. I hate saying it, but they do. And if you're the Bucks, you want to get a chance to go back to the NBA Finals and punch your ticket, a chance to repeat. You have to have number 22 back because they're keying on Giannis so heavily that the other dudes are just not performing. Drew Holiday is a defensive wizard, but has not shown up offensively this series. Grayson Allen not shown up offensively this series. Brook Lopez hasn't done jack shit either. They need some production from their secondary guys because Giannis could drop 40 on their heads. But what teams are doing is they're allowing Giannis to get his while at the same time making sure no one else beats you. You know Giannis is going to get you his 35, 40 a night. That's crazy to say that, 35, 40 a night. But as long as no one else gets into that 15 to 20 range, you're in a good shot of winning.
Yeah, they're right now. They're the hottest team. They were the hottest team in basketball finishing up the regular season. Boston was, and neither team has been able to win 2 games in a row. It's been back and forth the entire time, and likelihood is it might continue that way. But if any team is going to take over at this point, at the current stage of their roster and health-wise in the NBA playoffs, Boston is set to take this step, beat the defending champions, and set themselves up for a rematch of the Eastern Conference Finals from the bubble and go up against Jimmy Butt and Oladipo and those guys out there in South Beach, because Milwaukee, I love Milwaukee. I love Giannis. If I'm going to be honest with you, if the Nuggets don't win a championship, I would rather, out of everybody else, I'd rather see Milwaukee win it, because it's a small market. And dealing with the freaking Jokic shit on Twitter, I'm like, this is what this small market bias is so
feels
real.
like.
And
Yeah, it's so real.
It's like I'm dragging around an 800-pound weight. So I'd rather see Milwaukee go forward. And everybody knows I hate Boston. Everything about Boston, the Patriots, New England, that whole mass hole area, I don't enjoy. No. But yeah, Boston's clicking at the right time. Boston looks like they're putting it together right now and breaking that ceiling through to the next round.
That's because Tatum right now is just different. That's all.
He's a dude. He's a stud.
Tatum is a dog. Yeah. He's an absolute dog.
Speaking of dogs, we got to go now to the ice, and we got to talk about our boys pulling out the sweep in the first round. I predicted it 6. I think you predicted it 5 at the most. And last Thursday when we recorded with Griffin, it was after game 2. It wasn't even game 3 yet, because game 3 was Saturday. So it was game 2. They just won in overtime 2-1, and then they played Saturday and now Monday to finish up the series. And back-to-back first-round sweeps for the Colorado Avalanche. It's, I think, the first time in franchise history that they've done that. They'll be waiting to play the winner of Minnesota and St. Louis, because they're not reseeding the bracket this year. It's all going to be.
I read in 3 different places that they reseed, and then the broadcast said they don't. Yeah. NHL, 3 years in a row you've fucked up the playoffs. Different
every single time.
Like 3 years. 3 years in a row, I've had to search up how the playoffs work for pizza. Yeah. I get the bubble and I get that season, but come on, we can figure this out.
Step 1, create the plan. Step 2, memorize the plan. Step 3, expect the plan to fail. Step 4, throw away the plan. Every single year. That's the NHL when they decide what's going to happen with the playoffs. But they aren't reseeding, so Minnesota or St. Louis is who the Avalanche are going to play in round 2.
I want Minnesota. I do. I want all those demons out. I want to get rid of all that shit. Nashville's demons is out. I want to face Fleury. I want to face Minnesota, the team that knocked us out of the playoffs when we were a number 1 seed back in 2013 in Wall's first season. I want to get those demons out. I want to get them all out of the way. Get all this shit out here and ready to say that we're that team and that this year is completely different. Get all of them out.
It's that series. There were so many times in that series where I think if it were last year's roster or the way last year's team thought, there would be times where they would have fallen apart. I think they probably lose the overtime game, or at least they don't sustain the pressure like that. In game 3, they would probably have lost coming out in Nashville and trying to take one on their ice. But there was never a point. Yeah, they were down in the game on Monday night, and yeah, they had moments where they were tied on Saturday. But there was not. You can't stop this team. The waves are coming at you so hard and in so many different ways that there's not enough ways that you can stop all of their scoring options.
It's a road playoff game. The hardest games to win hockey are closeout games, especially when they're on the road. That's why I expected us to win 5. Because I think it's so – basketball's a little bit different because when there's a better team, there's a better team. But hockey is one of the most difficult sports to get a 4-0 sweep. Because that 4th game, if you're the team that's on the road, it is so hard to get that last game on the road that it's almost more likely you'll get a gentleman's sweep. And talk about an all-out play from this team. Kemper goes down, obviously, with that stick in the eye. Look, that doesn't matter because of Francois. It doesn't matter. What Frankie did on Monday night, making sure this team staying in between the bars, staying strong in there, and making sure giving his team a chance to win is what you need for a cup team. Every team that has ever hoisted the cup, that's ever hoisted the Lombardi, that ever hoisted the Larry O.B., has all had some sort of luck, and every single person, all the way down to the last man on the bench, has done something to contribute. And this is the game where instead of having to throw Kemper out there for games 5 on Wednesday night or Thursday night or whatever, you instead get a 2-day rest. where Kemper can rest his swollen eye and he'll be ready to go at the earliest of playing on Monday, where he gets a full week and a half off, where he plays Monday, where he'll have a home game, where he'll be back ready to go. That's if St. Louis and Minnesota don't go 7, which they very well might. Then we're looking at Wednesday night game. So this, like I said, look, all hands on deck. I see you hating on Byram and not liking that. I will say one thing, Jimmy. I will say one thing to be on Byram's case. This is his first playoffs. Not every single hear me out. Not every single human being is Kale fucking McCarr and is going to dominate in their first ever full playoffs. Bo Byram is a rookie and with a deer in the headlights, and there's a reason why he's playing so much time in that first series. You throw him out there to give him confidence so that when you get to the game 6s or game 7 in the second, third round, maybe the Stanley Cup final later down the road, he is not just completely ice cold. You let all those demons out, Jimmy. I get that he has been bad. He has been bad. But there's a reason why he was as good as he was. He had concussion problems all year. He had injury problems all year. This is his first full-time name penciled in the lineup every single night, playoffs for him, because last year obviously he was on the team but didn't get his name penciled in for the playoffs. Not everyone's going to be number 8, so we just have to realize that he may be getting beat on the back end, but there's a reason why 35 is in debt. That's all I'll say. You can afford that so that later down the road, he won't make those mistakes. Because like I said, this is a 16-game sprint. This ain't no 4. This ain't no 8. This is a 16-game sprint.
Yeah, Operation 16 dub. And I give Bo Byram the credit that he's deserved because he is fighting through a ton, and it is his first time in this situation. I give Jared Bednar credit because he saw how terrible that pairing of Girard and Byram was going to be.
Two offensive powerhouses, both those guys cannot be anchors on the back end together.
No, and I think that you need to have Bo Byram not hold the hand of, but pretty much play in the pocket of a guy like Eric Johnson or Devon Taves. I don't think that you split Taves and McCarr up. You can, but they play so well together. They were going to be Team Canada's starting defensive pairing if the Olympics had NHL players. So good luck everybody else, but you have to have either 6 or 7 on the ice with 4, and I'm good with it. If it's 49-4, I'm nervous, and if I'm Darcy Kemper and I see 49-4 in front of me, I'm thinking, oh shit, I got to be perfect. It's going to be one of those shifts where these guys are. There's going to be a possibility of a bad turnover in my offensive zone, trying to send it through the neutral zone and it getting picked off, or just being generally out of position because they are young, they are learning. Sammy G is a young kid too. He's been around for a while on the Avalanche. He's like 27 or something, but he's young and young in the role of being pretty much the third line defenseman for a Stanley Cup caliber team.
I would keep Sammy G and EJ together, obviously, on that last group. Then you put Manson with Byron, because in previous playoffs, EJ and Girard did so well together. So that's why I'd keep those two together. But like I said, Bednar is a coach that finds the right fit at the right time. It may be a different rotation, but the top 6, top 9 all stick the same, and they all have played with one another at some point as a top line, second line, whatever it may be. They've all filled in shark tooth. Like I said, you have the 3 top dogs. I'll even say 4 top dogs in the Landy, Miko, and Mac, he's the unsung hero. People forget about that he's on this team. I did too. I was like, fuck, we still have Nathan McKinnon.
You realize we still have Niko Rantanen too. Niko Rantanen barely showed up at all.
And we have one of the comeback player of the years, most improved players of the year. If there's not that award in hockey, but there should be, and Nazem Kadri.
Yeah, he's up for the sportsmanship award. He's up for the King Clancy.
Never my wildest dreams.
He was the Avalanche nomination this season, and he's playing still kind of on the edge, but he's playing smart. He's matured. Just if you don't get suspended, you're going to make so much money. You're going to
make so much money, and you're going to have a ring on your finger. You don't get suspended, you will make so much money and a ring on your finger. That's all I think he's thinking about right now. I have a chance to win one and then also get a fat paycheck. Don't fuck this up. That's all he needs to be thinking
Don't
about.
fuck this up. Don't fuck this up. Don't fuck this up. That's what Nazem says. And he had that bad miss in game 3 where he probably could have put one, or it was game 2 where he probably could have put one past Ingram and maybe not had to go into overtime, but he's made up for it, and he's playing very well on the defensive end too. He's forechecking like crazy. I'll give another shout out. I said it on Thursday's show, but Logan O'Connor, he was on the ice. He screened the Cale Makar game winner in overtime, and he's the guy. He's the reason why the Colorado Avalanche average about 2.5 minutes of zone time every time they get a clean entry. If the Avalanche get the puck in the offensive zone against Nashville in that series, it was pretty much 9 times out of 10 they're going to be spending 2 to 2.5 minutes defending, and you give up a goal or you give up a penalty when that happens. And a 45% power play through the first round of the playoffs.
Look, that's not going to keep up. God, if you can get 30%, then you're in great shape.
And you gotta think about this. I know it's not, they haven't proven to be a team that can take advantage of it, but they're resting right now, and the Blues and the Wild are beating the absolute dog shit out of each other. Yeah. So you're going to go in fresh. You just got to keep that same pace that you had against Vegas in game 1, where you came in and took advantage of your dead legs, but then just keep pushing even farther. I think this team, that's the difference. Last year, I think they were a little bit afraid to unleash their full potential. Like they thought they always had to keep a cap on it because something might go wrong. I think that they're completely past that now. They're playing the difference between the end of their regular season to the level that they're playing at right now in the playoffs is not something that a normal team is able to do. We have to realize, and we have to understand that we're witnessing one of the great transformations from the end of a regular season into a playoff run that we've seen. And it's early. It's very, very early in this journey. We still got a whole another month and a half to go. So it may ebb and flow, and it's probably going to ebb and flow. But at least right now, it's looking like this team has learned from all of their past failures, and they're ready to turn this thing around. And Nathan McKinnon said it at the beginning of the season. It's been 9 years, and he hasn't won shit. Landeskog was here through the shit years. There's a lot of guys, a lot of people have put a lot of miles on their bodies to try and get this team back to where they should be. It's been 13 years since Colorado Avalanche have played in the Western Conference Final, and that was when they lost to Detroit in 2003. So it's time for this franchise to get back to where it was in the 90s and the early 2000s and competing for Stanley Cups every season, and they have the talent to do that. They're playing with the mindset to do that. I am very encouraged by what we saw in round 1, and there's still plenty of wrinkles that the Avalanche can throw throughout the rest of the playoffs. Alex Newhook did not play the entire first series. And by the way, Arturi Lehkonen, what a fucking pickup that dude ended up being, because he's been an absolute monster in front of the net and making life miserable.
He's another guy on the forecheck. On the forecheck, that's been just a menace, absolute menace. And look, we said it at the deadline. We were like, the Avs don't need to make a massive move. They
made all the right moves.
They made all the right moves. You don't need to give up the likes of Byram and Newhook to go get a Giroux. You didn't need a Giroux. You needed a Lehkonen. You needed Cagliano. You needed the likes of these dogs to help you. And it's a goddamn fit like a glove.
Blues and Wild, we mentioned that's going to be the series that we're paying attention to now. And I believe I'm going to check real quick. I think it started because we're recording this on Tuesday night. So the Wild are currently leading 2-1 at the end of the first period. So that one looks like Minnesota is going to win this home game and head back to St. Louis for game 6, possibly. We'll see how the whole thing ends up. But Blues and the Wild, you said you wanted Minnesota, you wanted to work out the demons. Are you surprised at all with the decision to go with Fleury and then stick with Fleury even after he gave up all those goals in game 1? I was expecting – I don't think Talbot really did anything to lose his right to the net, but Minnesota decided to go with Flower. And what do you think about that decision so far?
Flower is the proven guy. He's the proven veteran to when you know how to get there that long. But Talbot is a harder hand. But like I said, this is a similar case to Vegas last year. You have two guys that are very, very solid goaltenders who neither knows who's the number one is. Funny enough, it's Fleury in the mix of all of it again. But it's at some point you're like, man, do we ride with one guy and just hope that for the best? There's one thing I gotta say is with this Minnesota team, if you're gonna stick with the guy, you stick with the guy until the end. Until his back gets broken. That's what New York has to do. We'll talk about New York here in a second. What they have to do with Shesterkin. You have to let the dog just let all the demons out. I'll say it. That's probably the 100th time I said this already in this episode. But you have to just let it all go because at some point he's going to flip a switch. And if he doesn't flip the switch, you may be in trouble. And your other goaltender may be getting cold the exact same way. You can't keep flipping and just hoping at some point one gets comfortable between the pipes. Because at some point you keep switching them out, you're just lost for, well, maybe this guy's got time. Well, maybe this guy's got time. Then you got both goaltenders not worrying about the game plan, worrying about, am I the guy tonight? And that already takes the mindset off the goaltender. That just puts them at a negative advantage completely.
Yeah, the saying in football is if you have two quarterbacks, you have no quarterback. In hockey, it's if you have two goaltenders, you have no goaltender. So I think the tipping point was that Fleury's won a Stanley Cup, and that's why he got the starting nod. I agree with you that he might have had the experience over Talbot, but I see Talbot in the same way that I saw Pittsburgh's goaltending situation back in 2008 when they won their first cup with the core that they have, where you had Flower and you had Murray in that situation. And if one guy wasn't having it that night, you had the backup to be able to go to. So as long as they have that kind of understanding between the two of them, they'll be just fine. I'm nervous about this Minnesota team because the lack of playoff experience shows, and it shows up for them in the worst times. Like Kirill Kaprizov is the best player on both teams that's in this series, but he doesn't have the experience or the know-how or the hockey savvy to put himself in the absolute right position, and it's hurt them. And that's why the Blues have been able to take the games. And when the Blues win so far, they dominate. It's not like they're just skating by against the Minnesota Wild. They're able to figure them out completely. They shut down the offense, and St. Louis just goes on an absolute tear. So I'm nervous about my pick of Minnesota, and I think a guy that, the team with Ryan O'Reilly and Jordan Binnington, who seems to have his swagger back in between the pipes, that's a scary team.
Oh, I would love to face Binnington.
Oh, I would too.
Absolutely love that.
He hasn't won a playoff series since the 2019 Cup final.
Makes sense. Absolutely makes sense.
I don't know where he went, but he does look good. But I think Husso. I agree. The teams that bounce back and forth with their goaltenders, all it shows me is that you actually don't know what, unless you're in a situation like Pittsburgh where your guy goes down due to injury. If you're questioning yourself on goaltending, what else are you going to question? If you get in a situation against the Avalanche, like you find yourself in a situation that Nashville found themselves in, you're down 5-0 before you even get set for the game, and you're like, oh shit, we gotta make a switch. That just shows me if things go bad, you're going to be looking for something to pull the plug on. So I just got to keep putting the pressure on you.
Absolutely, you have to have the rock solid piece behind, because you don't have, like you said, it's. I never played hockey. I wish I did. I played the cross, and it was a similar way where the defense, if you don't have that camaraderie with the goalie, you have a different guy in net, it changes the tone of your communication with the goaltender. It changes what he sees out there, where he's pointing guys to go. Because like I said, it's a quarterback. It's a quarterback on the defense, because the guy back there will pointing D where to go, what needs to be happening, all of that. It's a captain quarterback back there. And if you keep switching that every single game, every single night, it's just not going to be sustainable. It may help you win a few games here and there, but it's not going to get you to 16. It may get you to 4, it may get you to 5 or 6, but it won't get you to 16. Hence what happened to Vegas. Hence what happened to Vegas and why they ran into a lesser Montreal team last year.
Yeah, both of these teams are liable to possibly fall apart in round 2, but they look at least decent enough to put each other through the ringer in the opening round. Calgary and Dallas are in a similar spot. They're tied 2-2, and it's been a boring series, to say the least. There's been a total of 14 goals scored in 4 games.
I have not watched a second of this series.
It's the nightcap, and if there's no offense, I'm not staying up late to watch.
No, I'm not boring myself to sleep with these two dudes. If you told me a series was fucking actually no, I take that back. That's the only other series the exact same way. There's not been much scoring there either. But that series and Edmonton and LA has been the biggest snooze fest. The Avs put up goals. It's boring, but they put up goals. Toronto and Tampa Bay, which we'll talk about here in a minute, has been all out fucking war. Minnesota, St. Louis, war. I mean, like, you're getting war after war, and then you have these two series that are the nightcap that no one is watching because no one cares.
They're the boring wars. It's World War I, where they're sitting in the trench and just both trying not to screw something up. Because Calgary's claim to flame. Haha. I'm that good. I didn't even play in that. It just happened. Yeah. Calgary made their money in the regular season being the best 5-on-5 team, and now they can't score at all. Jake Ottinger has completely shut down that offense with Johnny Hockey and Kachuk and Lucic. Lucic has actually been one of the bright spots. He's like the offensive star for the
if he's your offensive star, you're in trouble. That's all.
Yeah, he's the fourth line guy. He's your goon. He's your goon. He should not be leading your team in anything. This team looks nervous. They look like they don't know what they're supposed to do in the situation. They're squeezing their stick, and it's surprising to me because I would have thought a coach of Daryl Sutter's pedigree would have been able to correct this. Like he hit the nail on the head when he said, if you play Colorado as the wild card team, it's going to be a waste of 8 days. It's an 8-day vacation.
It was only 7 days technically.
He's just not getting his own team ready to play. The Calgary Flames are getting outplayed by a Dallas Stars team that had to fight and claw their way. And I do want to give a shout out. I don't like him, but Joe Pavelski has been one of the most consistent players in the postseason, especially offensively. He's got 38 points and 22 goals since 2018 in the postseason on the San Jose Sharks and now the Dallas Stars for the last 2 years.
He's Captain America, as people called him back when he was the 2014 Team USA captain. So yeah, he's been. It's a guy that I would have loved to get at the deadline. That's a veteran piece that would have been perfect, but obviously he was way too expensive. And Dallas is a playoff team. So Calgary, like I said, they got a great guy in that. Markstrom has been incredible for them, but
the only reason
why they're in the series. Yeah. That this series is interesting because the Stars feel like they could be up in the series right now. They know it, and Calgary just is out there just playing flat and acting like they're the number 2 team when in reality. There seems to be a massive drop off after the 1 seed. It could be. It seems like obviously we said it over and over again how good I think it's called the Central Division, whatever division the Avs are in, how good the Central Division is. And the other division is just it's slim pickings over there. Yeah. It's absolute slim pickings. I'm gonna tell you right now, if it's not the Avs, whoever wins the next series between the Avs, Blues, and Wild, I hate saying it, will be in the Stanley Cup final. Because I'm hoping it's the Avs, but if for whatever reason it's not us, I think one of those 2 teams will be representing the Western Conference. Because I don't trust Edmonton, don't trust Calgary for Pete's sake. I mean, Edmonton can barely get past LA right now. Yeah. And the West is just so wide open outside of 1 team. It seems like, knock on wood, it seems like.
Yes, and the Edmonton-LA series is an interesting one because Edmonton should be able – if Drew Doughty was playing for Los Angeles, it would make a little bit more sense. I could say that Los Angeles put up a fight against an Edmonton Oilers team who now has Evander Kane, Darnell Nurse, Connor McDavid, and Leon Draisaitl, those 2 guys that you might have heard of. But they are treating the series as if whenever they get a win, they're expecting Los Angeles to come out the next day and not play in the hockey game. And that's not how a lot of teams' mindsets work. It's how Edmonton and Toronto's mindsets work, or at least that's how they've worked in the past in the postseason. If you stand up to them, they're kind of like the bully in the schoolyard and they just fade away. But they're expecting they go out there and they beat Los Angeles 8-2 and they get drubbed the next night 4-0. Like, they are not taking their opponent seriously. They think that as soon as they get a win, they're just going to roll over. And they are so lackadaisical that they are having the same thing happen to them again. Los Angeles is selling out to stop 97 and 29, and everybody else can try and beat them. And Evander Kane did it one night, but he's not going to be consistent. The only thing Evander Kane is consistent in is gambling on games. That's it.
This is the Oilers are the Philadelphia 76ers of the NHL. They have an all-world talent at the head.
Is it the Oilers or is it the Leafs?
Well, I mean, the Leafs may get the monkey off their back, but you have one of the biggest talents in all of sports, and Joel Embiid / Connor McDavid, and your team cannot get it done. Cannot get it done. It shows how much of a team game hockey is. It shows how much hockey you can have your stars, but there's only one position where if you have an absolute stud, you're going to win most of your games. That's goaltender. Besides that, if you're not a deep team, you're going to be struggling to get past lower level teams. Like fucking Johnny Quick. Like I said this last week. How is Johnny Quick, who is about 10 years removed from his prime, doing this to you? You're supposed to be the best.
Got a shutout in the series.
You're supposed to be the greatest talent of this generation in Connor McDavid. You're supposed to be the greatest Robin of this generation in Draisaitl. And you can't put up one goal on a goalie who's been in and out of the lineup since he won a cup 10 years ago. Come on now. Come on.
That's the same thing that happened when they played Hellebuck last season.
I know. I was like, it's just mentally and physically weak, Jimmy. Mentally and physically weak.
It's lackadaisical, and lackadaisical also goes for Florida. They got lucky yesterday, and Washington couldn't convert the empty net to ice their game, but they are in a absolute dogfight.
Florida's in trouble. I'm gonna say it. Florida's in deep water. They're in trouble. I think Washington could steal one there, and then just come back to their home ice and win one. Because like I said, when you're a road team in a 3-game series, which they are at right now, you just gotta steal one on the road. You can be. I don't know if it's Game 5, but it's either gonna be Game 5 or Game 7. But I'm confident Washington, when they get back to home ice, they can win one. Samsonov has been a lot more consistent now and been perfect back there in net for them. And they come out and they're just. Like they're hungry. Florida is just the one coasting right now. They're the ones that think they can just that the other team will just lay over.
Florida forgot to cover Ovi at the top of the circle.
Like we're talking about one of the best snipers of all time, and you're a goal scorers of all time. You're just going to leave him?
He's just by himself. He looked around. He goes,
"Okay."
Taps his neck. He's like, "Come on."
I'll take this. Yeah. How you do that if you're Florida? How you think that's just a thing that's just going to happen and you're going to win a series? You have another thing coming. You have another thing coming. Like I said, there's a reason why I didn't want to get hot at the end of the season. That's exactly what Florida did. They won, 10 of the last 12?
I think 14 of their last 16.
Something stupid like that. You don't get hot at the right time. You get hot at the wrong time, it can come back to bite you in the ass.
They have all of the worst accolades from the regular season because I think they have 25 victories where they were down at least 2 goals that they came back from, and they just expect that to be the case every single night. They expect to be able to come back and turn it on when they need to and match their opponent, and that's not what's happening. Oshie and Kuznetsov are backing up Ovi. We're not even talking about a guy like Nicholas Backstrom, or is it Backstrom?
It's Backstrom. It's Kuznetsov. Kuznetsov has been just fucking incredible for them. A dude has been on an absolute heater. Like
Oshie's not producing the offense, but he is putting pressure on people.
It's just wild. All these names you're saying, right? Like, is this 2016? Is it 2015?
Well, yeah.
Look, I could go to Pittsburgh too. Fucking,
I was gonna say
Malkin and Crosby. And Crosby may be the second best player in the playoffs currently behind Cale Makar. All these names are old as hell, and all these young guys are just. It's getting to them. They're not ready for the cup run like some of these guys have previously done. It's very similar to the situation we've been in with the Avs the last couple of years. They weren't ready. We would love to say it that this team was cut down and we were Stanley Cup or bust. We weren't ready. This year we're ready, and a lot of these teams, the likes of Florida, the likes of Edmonton, the likes of Calgary, are not ready.
And that moves us on to the Toronto series. And I'm thinking that Toronto is also not ready because they're doing everything that I said about Edmonton and Florida. You can copy and paste that and just change it to Toronto, and it stands the same.
Winning
Tampa
a
Bay
big
has
game 5 changes it. Winning
it
a big
would.
game 5
But
does.
the thing is that Tampa Bay is a team that has not lost back-to-back games since they were swept by the 8 seed when they were the number 1 seed. So when you win a game, you obviously know that you should play even that much harder the next game if you're going to win back-to-back games against this team. The saying around the league right now is that when Florida loses, all of their star players take that personally. Victor Hedman takes it personally. Kucherov, those were 2 guys that in game 1 were absolutely awful, possibly the 2 worst players in the game. And then they come back game 2 and they lead Tampa Bay to a big victory. Tampa Bay is more than fine. They're a team that's comfortable going on this back and forth because they understand they're not going to be the ones giving up when things get tough. In this situation, Toronto's the team that's probably going to be giving up in that when the going gets tough.
The amount of money I'm going to throw on these guys to just to fucking win game 6 is going to be ridiculous. That's all I'm going to say. Like I said, Vasilevsky has not lost back-to-back games in the playoffs ever. Like I don't know about ever.
When they got swept by Columbus,
yeah. So 4 years, it's the lock of the century. That's all I'll say. This series is going 7, and then good old Toronto. They don't love their game 7s. Let's talk about heartbreak after heartbreak. That's the last thing Toronto wants to see.
Leafs fans are almost up there with Philly fans as to how delusional they can be at times. I guess we got to address the elephant in the room. Boston wasn't dead. We declared them dead last week, and it might have been a bit premature.
Dead. Now they're dead after game 5. Get their shit braked in. That team cannot win a road game to save their lives. They may push it to 7, but Carolina wins game 7 easily.
Yeah,
look, the reason the dumbassness to throw Allmark out there for games 1 and 2 and not have Swayman in net for game 3 or not have Swayman at the first 2 games, it puts you in a hole. And then now with confidence, you have 50,000 screaming caniacs over there in the Superdome of Raleigh, South Carolina. If you don't get that reference, just look it up. And it's the Canes are not going to lose one at home. That's all I'll say. They will not lose one at home. Boston is not pronounced dead, but the gun is to their head.
Dying, not dead.
Dying. The gun is to their head.
We both felt we're obviously still feel not the best because we did both pick Boston to come out of that series, but Carolina has shown their flaws. The fact that they could not win a single game in Boston and the ending of game 4 where Tony D's throwing his stick on the empty netter and you're breaking your stick on the goal at that point, that's a lot of frustration. This team did not handle adversity the way that I expected them to. After game 1 and 2, I was just expecting them to walk right through Boston and go back to the Garden and close things out. And that's not what happened. This team is not what I necessarily thought they were.
There's a lot of frauds out there, Jimmy.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of frauds. Florida's one of them. Carolina, maybe or maybe not one of them.
And possibly New York. And that brings us to
definitely in New York. We're not saying possibly. It's definitely New York.
Yeah, the last series. It's a tough situation because you pull Shesterkin. He's getting absolutely donkeyed. You don't expect your guy that you put in to just stop the bleeding to possibly mount a comeback. And then did they go back to Shesterkin or did they leave
in? They put Shesterkin has started every game.
Yes.
He's got pulled at the last 3 games.
Georgiev in, and now Georgiev, he wasn't able to get things done. And now they're staring down elimination to a Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin team, and Chris Letang-led Pittsburgh Penguins squad.
Penguins team that's hungry. That is hungry.
Yeah.
And Louis Domingue. Fucking Louis Domingue.
This was a team that nobody expected them to be a wild card at the beginning of the season. The Pittsburgh Penguins had no expectations, and they've outdone everything that they know
this is their last run. They do. They really do. They know this is their last shot to get the band to hoist one more cup, and they are just taking no prisoners. Mm-hmm. No prisoners at all. New York is not there at all. Shesterkin is a good goaltender, and he'll win the Vezina. Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. But the dude is not ready. He's not ready for the highlights. And waving goodbye to the Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby after game 1, after letting in 1 goal and then getting pulled the next 3 games. I'm sorry, buddy. You've dug your own grave on that one. If you don't think that picture of you waving by with your glove after game one isn't plastered all over that Pittsburgh locker room, you got another thing coming. Because if there's a couple dudes you don't fuck with, it's Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. Because Sidney Crosby, like I said earlier, Sidney Crosby is one of the two best players in the playoffs right now. What he's doing offensively and defensively for this Pittsburgh Penguins team is 2008 worthy. Yeah. That's weird to say, but 2008 worthy. That's what he's doing right now for his team. This, like I said, this Pittsburgh team. Look, if there's one team I'm confident in that can make a run to the Eastern Conference Finals, it's not Florida, it's not Carolina. It may not be the likes of, depending on Tampa Bay and Toronto, one of those two teams maybe, but it's maybe Pittsburgh.
I mean, Pittsburgh is hungry. Yeah, they're hungry and they play a very solid fundamental game. Their forwards and defensemen have like a sixth sense to where if a defenseman has to pinch to keep it in the zone, the forward is back there covering until they're able to make their switches. That's what Tampa's been famous for the last few years. Ryan McDonough and Victor Hedman do that all the damn time. Cale Makar was doing it in the series against Nashville. It was beautiful. There was a couple games in that series where I was hearing people say that might be the greatest hockey game I've ever seen played by a defenseman.
Gretzky.
Period.
Yeah. It wasn't some people. It was Wayne Gretzky said that after the game.
He might know what he's talking about.
It wasn't some random hobo on Twitter.
I thought it was one of the local guys in Denver. I didn't realize that I heard the great one.
It was Wayne Gretzky that said that on Tuesday. Also, please, NHL, keep the TNT broadcast. I love the TNT. The ESPN announcers are terrible.
I like PK. Does a great PK job. Was actually
PK does all right, but get him in the booth. But it's not. He's a player, so it's literally Draymond. Well, without Draymond.
Yeah. So. Chris Chelios. I don't like Mark Messier as an analyst either. I like Steve Lee. ESPN has a couple of voices that I like Sean McDonough and Steve Levy are good hockey voices. But yeah, TNT.
Kevin Weeks is okay, but it's like, come on, like he's okay. He's okay breaking news.
There's nobody.
With that picture, the video, or the way he does a selfie in a bathroom, whatever. Yeah.
But there's the team of Biz, Waino, Liam McHugh, Rick Tocchet, Anson Carter, and I think Keith Jones is in there every now and then. That team is going to possibly be able to rival the NBA on TNT squad. I'm not saying that they are
very tough. I'll say that.
I know they're not there.
They're when you have the greatest player of all time, that helps. I'll say that.
And Biz is talking about the broad with the giant
fucking jugs behind
the bench and nut tapping Rick Tocchet on national television that was hilarious. Biz is just having fun. He doesn't need TNT. When you don't need the quote unquote main job, that's when you can have the most fun with it. And I love the NHL on TNT broadcast. I will watch them. I would watch them 5 days a week if they wanted to do that.
Biz was on our Pat McAfee show today. He was telling how he got the job. Gretzky got him the job.
Yeah.
Wayne Gretzky went to bat. Wayne Gretzky's kids went to bat for him, and he got the job because of Gretzky.
Yep.
Talk about a guy who did nothing but fight in his career, and
didn't even do that well.
Didn't even do it that well, and you partied with the guy's kids, and you were a respected individual that just had a good time with everything. You got a job on TV talking shit with the great ones.
Yeah, the dude. His story, when he was on Bussin', he was like, I walked into the Coyotes front office with my initial Twitter account, and they're like, you can either stop tweeting or you can be a professional hockey player. He's like, I had to legitimately think about what was going to make me more money because there was a lot. I had like 4 million followers on that initial account. But he was also talking about like the most dirty, nasty shit that happened on the road. It was
there's a reason
the journey of
so good.
We should have. I would like to see a documentary on the Spit and Chicklets crew and how everything like that. Because you think about it, those are two.
There's so many shit that's gone. I'm not going to toot my own horn here, but I remember hearing about them during when the Avs played Nashville 4 years ago in the playoffs. I remember hearing about them and listening to them, and then going to the games and being like, this Colorado team could be good. Colorado team could be good. But Nashville's got this year and all these things 4 years ago. I'm being like, dude, these guys are very good. It was before Biz was even on the show. Yeah. And yeah, they have just absolutely taken off.
Oh yeah, I would like to see, like I said, behind the scenes stuff. Like they're a show that went from being very good when it was just RA and Whitney, but now it's two guys that had decent NHL careers for what they were, and Biz came in and they're just like the Sandbaggers are some of the biggest videos on YouTube. Every single time they drop them, they're able to sustain themselves with a podcast that's just 3 hours of them bullshitting with their friends every week. It's like the dream. It's obviously it's the ultimate. It's one of the ultimate goals whenever anybody starts a podcast. Like, hey, the one that you're listening to right now, which we're bringing to an end on episode 86. Any bold statements that you want to say for the time being before we come back on the end of the week?
It will be Miami versus Boston in the East Coast Finals, and it will be Phoenix will win. I'll say Phoenix versus Golden State in the West, and then NHL. I'll say Tampa Bay forces Game 7, and I'll say Toronto wins. Toronto wins. Besides that, the other series, I don't care. I think Toronto gets one kill off their back. I think Vasilevsky won't lose 2 in a row. It'll go 7, but I think Toronto in front of Jurassic Park and that ruckus stadium, that's crazy for Raptors games, but now it's crazy for Leafs games. I think they win Game 7 on home ice.
All right.
Those are my 2 hot takes.
I'm saying in the NHL that it's going to be the Stars. They beat the Flames and they beat the Oilers. I think that the Stars, if they win their first round series, they have a good shot to make it all the way to the conference final, and then they're going to get boat raced by an Avalanche team. By that point, knock on wood, that there's no major catastrophe that happens along the way, like a Darcy Kuemper getting his eye poked out with a stick. But yeah, that's the matchup that I'm predicting now for the Western Conference Final after seeing about 2 weeks of playoff hockey. Yeah, that's going to bring us to the end of episode 86. Be sure to follow at FEOTB Pod, all social medias. New episodes every Wednesday and Friday. Be sure to follow wherever you listen to your podcast. Leave a 5-star rating and a review. We've been getting a lot more of those, so we appreciate that. little Mac attack on the Funko Pop. There you go. Yeah, hopefully we have some more semblance of a picture of who the Avalanche will be playing. The Wild or the Blues will have taken.
I'm calling now. We're going to a game. We will be trying to go to the game. This is my 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks at home until I travel again. So we're gonna may not be round 2, but it'll be maybe round 3, or maybe we get lucky we get seeing a cup tickets. But either way, we'll be at one game and we'll live tweet it and do all that fun shit. I don't know when it'll be. Just keep on the lookout.
And hopefully, if Griffin does make it out here, we'll try and get a live podcast with him and Christian and do like a joint show, because that was a ton of fun. Like I mentioned, be sure to go back and check out that episode that came out Friday, episode 85 with Griffin Youngs. That was a lot of fun. And I listened back to it today, and it was one of the few times, not a few times, but one of the times where I took a step back and was proud of the work that we put out. So be sure to follow along, keep rating and reviewing, keep rocking with us. Join the bench, tell a friend about the show if you think that they'd enjoy it, and we'll continue to bring the analysis as things move forward through these NBA and NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. But for that, myself, Jimmy Pilato, my co-host Niko Bryant, episode 86 of the Far End of the Bench. We will see you guys later on this week.
Peace.